Previous names of Puja Gurudev, and then we'll chant. Add one more today. Om Niranjanaya Namaha. Om Nirapekshaya Namaha. Om Nisprihaya Namaha. Om Nirupamaya Namaha. Om Nirvikalpaya Namaha. Om Nityaya Namaha. Om Niranjanaya Namaha. Om Paramaya Namaha. Om Parabhmane Namaha. Om Pavanaya Namaha. Om Pavakaya Namaha. Om Purushottamaya Namaha. Om Purushottamaya Namaha. 108 nights we are seeing one name each night of Puja Gurudev. So this will be now number 50, 62. 62nd name. The 62 name. We call Purushottama. Gurudev is called as Purushottama. Purushottama means, see, there are about two words in Sanskrit. Purusha Uttama. Purusha Uttama means, Uttama in Sanskrit means, you have in English language, good, better and best. Good, better, best. So in Sanskrit language, better is Tama and best is, better is Tara and best is Tama, like that. And you have to just add it. So Uttama and Uttara will be best and better. Uttama will be best, highest, greatest, most wonderful, like that, most exalted among who? Purusha, men. So that's one translation. Is greatest among men, because all of us come, we are human beings, many human beings, human being, and we, instead of making any great contribution to the world, we only take from the world. So we live in a deficit. Instead of like that, like you borrow money from the bank. Let me tell you something. If you borrow money from the bank and you die and you didn't pay it back, of course the bank has assurances to get back from you, right? But suppose you borrow money from a friend and he have no assurances, right? You borrow $100,000 from your friend. He has no assurances to get back from you and you die. Don't you think they get away? Next life you have to pay. You don't get away from nothing in this world. This world is one, it has two rules. What are the two rules? You're not getting away from any karma. That is one rule. And you're not coming out of this world alive. These are the two rules. So, the vast majority of human beings come into the world and take, eat, use, use, abuse, and this and that, not like anything. And we live with a deficit, we owe the world. That's why we have to come back. We have to come back and work to pay back. All the way, take. But the Purushottama means the greatest among men who come and they give way more than they can ever take. They give their whole life like that. Purushottama among men. So Purushottama, highest among men. Then Purushottama also is one name of Bhagavan Shri Krishna in Gita. You will see now next chapter also. Hey Purushottama, Arjuna calls him. Bhagavan Shri Krishna is called Purushottama. It means he is the highest being in the universe. Purusha means being, the supreme being. There are different type of high being, gods and angels and all kind of thing you have, right? But the highest among beings is Bhagavan himself. So it's also called as Purushottama, highest being in the universe. All right. So there's one more name of Puja Gurudev. Tomorrow we'll see 63rd. Where? Launch Park Sai Center. Okay. Now Dashamaha Adhyayaha. We are seeing chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. So what is Vibhuti Yoga? Vibhuti Yoga means yoga. See, first thing, yoga word means to unite. Yuj, to unite. So to unite our mind with God, how? By thinking about the glories of God. So we can think about many things about God. Nah? We can think about God's infinity. We can think about God's infinite power. Not only his infinite expanse, but his infinite power. We can think about so many things. But that great infinite and powerful Lord has manifested as great things in this world in so many ways. He's manifested as so many wonderful things in this world. Nah? How he has manifested as, see, a rainbow. You try to make a rainbow, nah? You can't even make rain. What are you talking about bow? Yeah. You can't make anything. Bhagavan makes such wonderful things. Today, somebody posted on social media a sunrise from the what you call that, Grand Bazaar interchange there. Sunrise. I think it was so exquisitely beautiful. But no matter what we paint with brushes, we can never make something so beautiful. Bhagavan's glory, you see, that is called his vibhuti. How he has made so many wonderful things in this world. You know, one amazing thing, I used to always wonder how a bicycle with two wheels does turn up straight and don't fall down so. If you have no wonder about all of these things in your life and something wrong with you, I tell you. How does bicycle with two wheels like this go fall along this side or this side? Imagine. And then motorcycle. What speed it's going. And all those laws that upkeeping law of gravity of force at work there, right? Who made all these laws? Who manifested all of these laws? And you have some people ride on a unicycle, one wheel. Huh? And he juggling too. So, the glory of God is manifesting so many wonderful things all around us. It's amazing. I see a video of a seagull, a bird, right? You know, people are throw bread and things for them birds. He take up the bread from the land and he walking by the edge of the water and he throwing the bread on the water. And as the bread floating, fishes coming to eat the bread. And when the fish grabbed the bread, he grabbed the fish. The seagull. And he repeat, and he's so smart, and the fish so stupid, them come in one by one. What intelligence in that bird. To go and pick up the bread from over there and bring it. Put it on the water, and when the fish come, he grab him. It had no fisherman in Trinidad could fish like that boat. See the glory of Bhagavan. Amazing, I tell you. Fisherman had to go out whole night waiting there. After they come back, catch nothing. They'll get no bite, only mosquito bite. The vibhuti of the Lord means the manifestations of Bhagavan in a countless millions of ways. You can't even finish. Bhagavan himself says, I cannot finish. My glories are infinite. Therefore, pradhanyata. I'm just going to tell you a name few. Like that. We saw that. Huh? So, Now, last night when we left, we had left it at Uchchai Shravasamashwanam. Then, yep, Uchchai Shravasamashwanam, number 27. Right? But inside of there, it was brought to my attention by a very vigilant officer, Guru. There's a police officer that do, you know. Police officers are the most vigilant people. You pass on the same road and you didn't see anything, but them see 100 things, you know, because that's their job. So I left out 2 of those inside in between there, inadvertently. But thanks to the keen eyes of Sadhguru, Maharshinam Briguraham and Sarasamasmi Sagaraha. Among all the expanse of waters, Sarasamasmi Sagaraha, I am Sagar, the ocean. Bhagavan says, he is the ocean. Because, now see that. I am telling you how knowledge was so prevalent in India at the time. Knowledge was so prevalent in India at the time. It was the most advanced civilization of its time. That there was knowledge of everything in the world. People used to feel like, oh, they didn't know this, didn't know that. How he knew, how the Indian civilization knew that there are different bodies of water across the earth. And the ocean is bigger than all these bodies. Because here in America we have 5 Great Lakes, right? And so how do you know that the ocean is bigger than the 5 Great Lakes? All knowledge, I told you, in Ramayana, in Valmiki Ramayana, Bali had chased Sugriv to every country on the earth. So they knew the geography. I mean, Bali came here too. The geography of the whole earth was known. When Valmiki ji starts recounting through the mouth of Sugriv, he tells the monkeys, you go this direction, you will see this mountain, and you see that country, and you see that lake, and he tells everything that you will see in all the directions in Valmiki Ramayana. So he says, among all the waters, bodies of waters on the earth, I am Sagar, in the vast ocean. Lord, in other words, among all the things which you know, all classes of things which you know, and the best among them, I am that. There is unity of Bhagavan in all things. Maharshinam Bhriguraham, the Bhrigu Rishi is credited with, you know, this Maharshi Bhrigu is credited with all the astrology which we study today. He was the first one to come up with astrology. He was Lord Shiva Sarvabhai. Lord Shiva had married one of Daksha's daughter, na? Sati. He married one of his daughter also, Bhrigu. Same time, he was a contemporary of Manu. So he has contributed to Manu Smriti also. Like that. Bhrigu, great Rishi. So among all the Maharshi, great Rishis, I am Bhrigu. These 2 we left out. See, these great Rishis. Now see, astrology, astronomy, astrology actually, which we study, that is a valid science. 100% valid. People ask this question all the time. Only one problem with that thing. Valid teachers we don't have. We have charlatans and, you know, businessmen, shrewd businessmen. The science is valid if we have the people to dedicate their whole life to that and solely that. People don't do that. You know, on the side, let's go. On the side. Let me give you a personal experience. I know one man. He went to India to study astrology. Right? He visited that astrology teacher 20 times. Count, eh? He visited that astrology teacher 20 times for 1 hour each time. Right? So 20 hours of studying astrology. Now, that fellow didn't know one word of Hindi. And that teacher didn't know one word of English. I tell you to count. How many hours is it in? 20 hours. So in between them, there had to be a fellow translating who knew both English and Hindi. That means to say, in every hour, the teacher will speak 20 minutes, the translator will speak 20 minutes, and this other fellow will speak 20 minutes, correct? So, in fact and in truth, he just learned 20 minutes 20 times. Right? So, every 3 days, then 1 hour. 6 trees are 18, that's 6 hours. And 40 minutes. 6 hours and 40 minutes he would have learnt. If we use a conservative calculation. The other thing is, we don't know what is lost in translation between this man and this fellow. And whether the teacher, what he said, whether this fellow translated correctly and whether this fellow understood correctly also. So 6 hours and 40 minutes. And he came back to Trinidad and he is a well-established astrologer. He reading astrology for people. So that is what we have. That is what we have for astrologers. So, that being 100% valid science, our problem is that we don't have proper astrologers, teachers and all that kind of thing. So, this Bhrigu must be crying. Poor Bhrigu. Anyway, Bhagwan continues with his Vibhuti. That also Bhagwan Vibhuti is amazing how, what is Bhagwan Vibhuti there, you know? It is amazing how this person who knows absolutely nothing about astrology, he is an astrologer and hundreds of people going to read too. That is Vibhuti or not? If Bhagwan will come back to that just now. Brace right. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Ayodhanamaham vajram Prajashasmi kandarpah sarpanamasti vasukihi Anandashtasmi nadhanam varuno yadsamaham Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Priyamaryamachasmi yamasamyamatamaham Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Prahladaschasmi Daityana Tadachalayathamaham Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Mriganam cha mrigendroham Jayanate रामशस्त्रभृतामहम् दशानामकरशास्मि स्रोतसामस्मि जाह्नवी श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम श्रीकृष्ण शरणं वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय। आयुधानमहं वज्रं धेनुनामस्मि कामधुक् प्रजनश्चास्मि कंदर्पः सर्पाणामस्मि वासुकिः। Ayudhanamaham vajram. Ayudhanam means among weapons. Ayudhanamaham, I am vajra. Among all weapons, I am the vajra. The vajra is a thunderbolt. Thunderbolt? But we thought the Brahmastra was supposed to. Why didn't I say I am Brahmastra? Brahmastra is supposed to be the most powerful weapon. Well, the Brahma Astra also is a weapon which has to be carried around. But the thunderbolt can be manifested from thin air. Huh? Careful, yeah. That you don't have to carry also. Wherever you are, thunderbolt. Because that thunderbolt means a lightning bolt, right? That will have to come from somewhere. You don't have to bring it from somewhere. From wherever you are, that manifests. Right? From thin air, as we say. Ayudhanamaham vajram. Among weapons, I am that. Now see, what a tremendous power of nature. You see, from the sky itself, this great and powerful force just manifests, and it can burn out a whole town. What a powerful thing. So that is the glory of Bhagwan. Long time when we see lightning, we used to think Bhagwan taking picture. No flash. So Bhagwan says, I am that Vajra, thunderbolt. Dhenunam asmi kamadhuk. Kamadhuk is a special cow, not in this realm in which we live, but it is said, that Bharadwaj Muni was able to bring this cow from some other realm, and this cow was brought to our realm at some time in history. But it is a special wish fulfilling cow. So among all cows, Dhenunam asmi, I am this Kamadhuk, the wish fulfilling cow. Let me tell you something. We are all tempted to insert in this type of discussion mythological word. But that word you have to remove from your vocabulary. You remove this word from your vocabulary. This word was inserted into our vocabulary by foreigners, by British people and German people. You can only conclude something is mythological if you can prove that that thing doesn't exist. So you have seen the whole world to know it doesn't exist or what? That is an amazing thing. They started talking as though they have seen the whole universe. And what is there in our Shastra, that is mythological. But you have seen everything or what? How you conclude it is mythological? You have to be able to see everything. And the Lord himself, who is the server near, who knows everything, he is telling that there is such a cow. So who are you? You better than Bhagwan. That is to dampen your faith and to put you down, to stamp on you, and to establish some sort of superiority over you. They put words like that. What? That is all mythological. That is to really, first of all, defeat you psychologically. Defeat you psychologically, it's at the root. So Bhagavan said, I am Kama, took the wish fulfilling cow, which is there in different realms and which was brought to this realm also. Now see, just now they are thinking about putting life on Mars, right? They are thinking about colonizing Mars. Yeah. So scientifically it is possible. They're giving a scientific model how it is possible, right? So if these ignorant human beings who really don't know so much, if we can colonize Mars, why are we excluding the possibility that in ancient times and in ancient civilization and all, that life forms could have come from different planets and different lokas, and that's what the Shastras tell. It came from different lokas. There's intergalactic travel. And it wasn't Star Wars, it was Star Friends. Star Friends, they were all friendly, nice people, you know. Now when you have to make something appealing, you have to say wars. Star? Wars. Everything is war only. Now, so there were so many things in the past. Prajanashasmi Kandarpaha. He says among. You see, then this is one phrase. There is no among. Prajanaha cha asmi. Kandarpaha. I am. Kandarpa means Kamadev. Kamadev, you know. Kamadev means Cupid. Cupid, you know. He says, I am Cupid. I am Kamadev. In fact, that is translated as I am Kama, because Prajanaha means progenitor, means the whole universe, things multiply. All creatures multiply. But that multiplication of creatures is rooted in desire, Kam, which is built into the universe. Desire. Only because of desire there is multiplication. One fellow come home and he hold a rabbit by ears like this, and he asked the rabbit, 2 plus 2. The rabbit has said nothing. Whap slap. 2 plus 2. The rabbit has said nothing. Rabbit quiet. Damn again. 2 plus 2. Then the father came. What happened? Why are you beating the rabbit? He said, well, today in school, my teacher said that rabbits multiply very fast. This stupid rabbit cannot even add. What to talk about? Multiply. He cannot even add also. But all species multiply like any species. You see, the population of the earth is not going down, it is going up. So that multiplication of species is rooted in this thing, Kam. If desire was not there, there would be no multiplication of any species. Desire is what. So Bhagavan says, I am that desire. Kandarpa. Kam means desire. Kandarpa means Kam. Kam means desire. Sarpanam asmi Vasukihi. I am Vasuki among all Sarpas, snakes. Sarpa means snakes. And just now again, Nagas will come. Naga also is one class of snake. You know, we have different type of snake. Venomous and non-venomous. One little snake, you know, little fella. He asked him, Mara. He said, Ma, are we venomous variety of snake or non-venomous variety of snake? She said, non-venomous variety. He said, shh, thank God, I just bit my tongue. So he's afraid if he was venomous, he would have been. He's thinking. This Vasuki comes in Bhagavad Purana. All of you have known, you know the Vasuki. He is the one who was used the rope to churn the ocean. Yes, among all snakes, I am this Vasuki. That Vasuki who was used to churn this ocean, from which even Lakshmi came out. You know what it actually represents? It's symbolically. Now Bhagavan is talking literally here. Symbolically, this Vasuki is mantra. For the churning to go on in the mind, for churning to go on, some here mantra means any sutra, mantra, any verse, any such thing. For churning to go on, there must be some, which means for reflection to go on, there must be some mantra, some verse, some sutra, something. He represents that thing. And you notice that mantra, any teaching, any verse, any sutra, that can be taken in a positive way and that can also be taken in a negative way. There are people who use shastras for the wrong things, and there are people who use shastras for the right thing. So that same thing can be taken positive or negative. And this is Vasuki. On one side, the Devatas were there at the tail and the Asuras were there at the head. At the tail, the Devatas, they were having a great time. And these fellows at the head, same Vasuki. At the head, they were getting poison only. So the same Vasuki, one side enjoying, one side suffering, positive and negative. Anyway, so Bhagavan says, I am that among all these snakes, I am that Vasuki. Then, Anantasyasmi Nagana. Anantasyasmi Nagana Varuno Yadasamaham. I am Ananta, that snake Ananta, on which Bhagavan sleep among Nagas. So he is classified as a Naga. Vasuki is classified as Sarpa. No, what is different? Naga is just one class of Sarpa. It is a subclass of Sarpa. There in Ramayana, who is there? Sundarkand. Who is there? Surasa! You see, all you forgetting all these things so easy. Surasa, she is the mother of all the snakes. All the snakes, there's no children. Surasa. So, she is also connected to all of them there, related. So, among all the Nagas, I am that Ananta. Ananta is a 1,000-headed serpent on whom Bhagavan sleeps, like this. Ananta. Sheshanag is also called as Sheshanag. So, this Sheshanag, he is, today there's something in science called black hole, where the whole universe collapses or a whole galaxy or something can collapse into a black hole. So now black hole is what is really a collection of a whole series of things, right? So densely packed. But if you look inside, like inside of a tree, inside of a seed, there is a tree densely packed in there. Everything that tree is going to manifest has to already be in that seed, isn't it? Whatever is not there cannot manifest. Where to manifest from? So inside of that seed is a densely packed tree. A black hole is something like that. A densely packed whole solar system packed into that black hole. It means after something has collapsed, what the resultant will be, the result will be. Right? In the very same way, after the whole universe has gone into pralay, dissolved, what the result will be? That is Sheshanag. This Ananta. That's why it's called Shesh. Shesh in Sanskrit means leftover. Whatever is left over. In Hindi, baki. Whatever is left over. So after the universe is dissolved, what is left now? The dissolved state of the universe. That is what he represents. Varuno Yada Samaham. Among all the gods of the waters, I am Varuna. Varuna. Varuna, that is the wife. Varuna's wife is called Varuna. So, there are many, you see, like for example, Yamaraj, he is the lord of death, which will come just now, right? But here is Yamadut. Yama himself doesn't have to come. He sends the dutas. Oh, why you go? He's the king. There's no need for him to go. He just have to snap his finger like this. Okay, go bring that man there. It's time up. So the dutas, they go there. So just as you have Yama and Yamadut means them, they also have their name also have Yama and you see Yamadut. So also you have Varuna who is the king, and you have all the Varuna Dutas. So that's why we have plural there. Varuno Yadasana. So he, Bhagwan, among all the gods of the waters, he is Varuna, the supreme lord of the waters. You know, just now we also saw, when we started this, he says, among the just now, among the bodies of waters, which we left out yesterday, Sarasamasmi Sagaraha. Here again now, water is coming, right? If you listen to that previous name, so all of these things are tied up so well in Shastras. Sarasamasmi, Sarasa or Saras in Sanskrit means water, lake, pond, all that kind of thing. Saras also means Saras, Saha-ras, with taste. And all taste in our teaching in Vedanta, all taste is there only in water. If water were not there on this earth, if objects did not have water as part of their content, because all things are made up of space, air, fire, water, earth. If that water element was not there, we would not have been able to taste anything. It is because of the water content in things, everything has a taste. Right? And if something is tasteless, something is tasteless, that means to say only that the water content is less. It is not tasteless. The water content is less. It cannot be devoid of water. Everything must have the 5 elements. But something will have like 99.9999% of the other 4, and the water content will be like 0.000000000 to the 100 degree 1. So only so much water, but it must have at least some bit of water. So that thing we consider to be tasteless. It is not really tasteless. It's just that your tongue is not able to taste the little bit of water which is there. That is all. It's not that element problem, it's your problem. You see? So see what the words Sarasam. Sarasam means body of waters. But in the word itself, Sanskrit is like this. In the word itself is the essence of the thing. Water, the essence of what I taste. That we saw in 7th chapter. I know you don't forget. You have to go back to 7th chapter. Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi suryayoho. In 7th chapter. I am the ras in water. Apsu, there is water. Right? So, all water has taste. And here in this word, Sarasam. Saras. You see, rasoham apsu there. Here, saras. Saharas. I am that element which has taste as its essence. That is it. That is the idea. Anyway, that's all technical things that you will have to learn at some time, but I'll learn now. Yeah? Varuna Yadasana, you come back here. Varuna, water. Now we're talking about not the water itself, but the gods of the waters. Here I am Varuna among those gods. Pitrinam Aryama ascha asmi. Among the Pitris I am Aryama. Aryama, you know. Okay, let me tell you a little bit. We have this, our lok here, Bhulok, our own Prithvi, right? This earth. Then we have Swarga, then Narak, then Pitrilok. There are many Brahma lok. There are many lokas, right? In Pitrilok, which is a lok more exalted than this lok, people go there to enjoy fruits of good karmas. That is a different lok, right? Pitrilok. So, if you have done many good things, you can go to Pitrilok to enjoy some results there. You can go to Swarga to enjoy even more results if you have done even more good things. So you can go to different lokas to enjoy different results and all that kind of thing. There, the king in that Pitrilok, you see, king in Swarga is Indra. King in this Pitrilok is called as Aryama. That is how this king. So among all the among all the Pitris who are there, Pitris means forefathers. So our forefathers might be there, some of them enjoying. Some of them come back here. Because Kshine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti, when the Punya is finished, good karma finished, you have to come back. That's why you have to cry. So, Pitryam Aryama, among all the Pitris, I am Aryama, the king himself. Yama Samyamatamaham. This is very nice. Among Samyamata. Samyamata means those who are the upholders of rules and laws, the upholders of rules, laws, regulations, all these things which are there in the universe, those who uphold that. Among all of them, I am Yama. Because let me tell you something. You could dodge anybody in this world, but you cannot dodge. You can't dodge Yamraj. Yama is Yamraj. You could dodge the police. Ask the officer. One fella tried to dodge him there, I catch him. But you could dodge many people. You could dodge so many people, but you can't dodge. Dodge means dodge is a proper English word, isn't it? To try to escape. To escape the grips. That is dodge. So you could dodge many people, but you can't dodge. See what I tell you. One day, there's a nice story in Mahabharata. Naradji and Yudhishthir, they were walking and talking. So, Yudhishthir and Yamraj, they were walking and talking. Yamraj himself. So, Yudhishthir took Yamraj in a certain direction. And there was a tree and a little bird sitting on that tree. So, when they reached there, Yamraj looked at the bird and he smiled. Now, if the Lord of Death smiled on you, Ram Nam Satya hi. That little bird became so scared. He started shivering with fear. Quickly, he called out to Garuda. Garuda also come just now. He called out to Garuda. Oh Garuda, please take me across the 7 seas. Fast! Because you know who just smiled on me? Yamaraj. Take me further across the 7 seas. No, immediately. And Garuda just said, can travel faster than light. Garuda took him zap across the 7 seas and came back. So Garuda was listening to this conversation between Yamraj and Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir asked Yamraj, but why you looked at this little fellow and you smiled on the poor bechara, poor fella? You scared the life out of him. I mean, that's your job, but but you scared him so much. Why you did this thing to the poor fella? Yamaraj said, well, you brought me here. When I saw him, I realized that he has to die in 2 minutes. But his death has to take place across the 7 seas. I was wondering how he reached there. So when I wonder, I smile. So you could dodge anybody in this world, but you cannot dodge Yamaraj. He upholds this law of time 100%. That's why on one of the previous days I was telling you that there is no such thing as untimely death. That is just an interpretation, wrong interpretation. People, by saying the Sanskrit word, they interpret it to mean that he died before his time. No, there is no such thing as died before your time. You just have to understand the nirukta a little bit, the etymology of the word. That is all. The misinterpretation and the etymology of the word. So, he is the upholder of time strictly. That is the idea. For those who uphold time, he said, I am Yamaraj himself. Bhagavan tells. Prahladas-shasmi daityanam. Among the daityas, daitya means, you can loosely translate asuras, rakshasas, like that. Among all of them, I am Prahlad. Prahlad. Let me pronounce that properly because if Sona listening, you'll give me some trouble. Prahlad in Sanskrit. In Hindi, Prahlad you can say. That is hard to say. Say Prahlad. This is Sanskrit. So he says, among all of these daityas, I am Prahlad, because Prahlad was, his father was Hiranyakashipu, Rakshas. Isn't it? Hiranyakashipu was his father. But he turned out, and see, this is the most moving story in Puranas. You have to read the story, and there are so many elements to it. Prahlad's story. A most fantastic job is done by Raviji and the Hindu Prachar Kendra. You have to see what a tremendous work they have done with this story. But it is a story that contains elements of sociology, elements of spirituality, religion, all politics. So many things are there in there. Why Prahlad, even though he was the son of Hiranyakashipu, came out well, came out to be such a great person. One simple teaching which has been coming throughout the annals of time in Hinduism for countless millennia, this one teaching has come. That is called as prenatal education. Prahlad came out to be Prahlad because of prenatal education. While his mother was carrying him in the womb, she was kept in the ashram of sage Narada, Devarshi Narada, and Narada taught everything to Prahlad in the womb. And therefore, even if he was the son of a Rakshas, Narad came out to be the most virtuous character who we all praise today, because in the womb everything was taught to him. And if everything is taught to a child in the womb, there is no need to teach anything afterwards. But we don't teach in the womb, we don't teach afterwards, we don't teach anytime. That is amazing. We have classes going on. Parents will tell, to bring the children on Sunday morning. Parents will say, Sunday, them children don't want to get up. Parents will tell me that. Them children don't want to get up. I remember in the old days, the father used to ask, hey, is your father or you is my father? You remember that? Now that question is settled. The child is the father. That is not going to augur well for this nation and not going to augur well for posterity. This type of parenting means this is not parenting, this is absence of parenting. So we have to make sure that we study our history and bring back these ancient practices. You have to see the Ramayana of Valmiki ji. When the 3 queens of Valmiki ji, of Dasharath ji were pregnant, during those 9 months, they were only visiting ashrams, saints, sages, and engaged in all spiritual things in those 9 months. See that Ramayana. All practices we lost. That is why we bring. What do we bring in? Monsters. The Prime Minister is absolutely right. Monsters. Huh? And we just say, no, we take the child, but we are making mind. Untrue, eh? You make the child and you make the mind too. The chip don't fall far from the block. If I want virtuous children, I myself have to be virtuous. And let me tell you, when we say make, we are using this in a very loose sense, a superficial sense. I'll tell you how it works at a deeper level. This is a talk I gave many years ago. I saw it surface on social media today. I don't know who put it up. Listen to this. The child that is going to come into your house, and all this is based on this Prahlad now. The child that is going to come into your house is a child, is a human being, a jiva, who is already there somewhere in the universe. So that means you can't make anything. Because if the human being is already there, what you making? You're not really making anything. So this is how it works. You will attract from this whole infinite number of jivas, you will attract a jiva that suits your personality. So if you have these traits and characteristics and these inclinations and likes and dislikes and all that kind of thing, you will attract a jiva with exactly those type of traits and characteristics. So if you want to attract jivas that are virtuous, that are noble, that are going to defend Trinidad and Tobago, make this nation better, if you want to attract that type of jiva, then you have to be that type of jiva. That is what you will attract. This is how it works, eh? Because you really can't make, in the absolute sense, you can't make jivas. Jivas are already there, and everybody makes their own karma. That jiva will come with his own karma and all, but it will be matching yours. So you will attract that type of jiva. You see? So Prahlad was that type of jiva, and in the now there has to be some room for teaching also, because teaching is a real thing, right? So that jiva who is coming with virtuous karma already, that can be further developed by proper teaching, because there is room for teaching, and that teaching can only take place rarely in the womb. Later on, when a tree don't get bent, let me tell you something. You know, you tie a stick to the tree when the tree young. When you try to straighten any tree later on, it doesn't like straightening. The only thing is to cut it down. You can't straighten tree later on. So, from the womb, prenatal education, this, he says, Prahlad Shasmi Daitya, among all the Daitya. That's how a Daitya also. Now let me tell you something. This Hiranyakashipu, right? And see Ravan, Hiranyakashipu, Mahabali, all these great Rakshasas, deep down inside them, they have some great and magnificent qualities or not. The power in these Rakshasas is unimaginable to our mind. Huh? So those great qualities Prahlad would have come with, and then in the womb now Narad would have developed on those great qualities to make them be used for good things rather than for, because Ravana was such a powerful man, but just using the power to do the wrong things. So was Hiranyakashipu. So if at the right time that child is caught in the womb itself and taught the right thing, even if he be the son of a Rakshasa, right timing is what is important. Prahlad Shasmi Daityanam Kala Kalayatamaham. Among reckoners of time. I am Kal, I am time itself. You know, people keep time. And musicians and all. Summer. Timing, dancers. Ta, like that they do. I don't know what that thing they do there. But they have to keep time. And today time is money. In today's world, time is money, isn't it? Time is money. So, Bhagavan says, among all these people who value time, I am time itself. They only value me. Mriganam cha mrigendro ham. Among all the animals, I am the lion itself. See, nowadays you are here, the king of the jungle, right? There's an English phrase, king of the jungle. This is where it came from. Mrigendra means king of animals. Why didn't put elephant? You see there, one day the lion come out. Lion come out, no lion. Oh. So you see a day, he asked the day, hey, who is the king of the jungle? The day, you're the king of the jungle. Lion walk a little bit further again inside the jungle. You see a monkey. Hey monkey, who is the king of the jungle? Monkey, you, Mr. Lion. You walk a little bit again. You see a bear. Bear. Who is the king of the jungle? Bear said, Mr. Lion, you. A little further he walked. You see an elephant. He said, hey elephant, who is the king of the jungle? Who is the king of the jungle? Elephant wrapped the lion with its trunk like this. Lion, show him quite over there. Now lion get up, ringing in pain, you know. He said, man, if you didn't know the answer, you'd never get on so. In spite of the elephant having this capacity to slander lion and throw him, still in Bhagavad Gita and in today's modern world also, lion is still king of the jungle. But the phrase comes from Mrigendra, the king of all the animals. So, among all the animals, I am the lion himself. Vainate yaksha pakshinam, yascha pakshinam. Among all the birds, I am Garud. I just told you about Garud. He is said to be faster than light also. They are different. In the Puranas, sound, faster than sound is light. Faster than light is Garud. Faster than Garud is mind. This is the some of all these birds. I am Vainata, Vainateya, like Kaunteya, Vainateya, like Kaunteya, because his mother's name was Vinita. Garu's mother's name was Vinita. Pavara Pavatamasmi, among all the purifiers, I am wind. And last time we saw Pavakashasmi, isn't it? I am fire. And I told you that fire is the best purifier. Now you know among fire purifiers I mean. The idea is one is the best purifier and one is the fastest purifier. Fire takes time. Wind, I'll show you how. When you go to cremate somebody by the creek or somewhere, right? To purify, because that body comes rid with all kinds of diseases and all. To purify that, it has to burn for such a long time. But when wind has to purify something, like if there is some smoke blocking this fire, only one smoke, you see bright, nice fire. The purification is instantaneous. If the wind is blowing properly, any bad smell can go away. Like that. That is why. So one is fast and one is extreme. Fire is extreme, it will purify anything. But wind will purify faster than anything. That is the idea. Tej is there. Speed. Pavana Pavatamasmi Rama Shastra Vedamaham. This one we didn't chant. Huh? You have to chant. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Pavana Pavatamasmi Rama Shastra Vritamaham, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shashanamakarastasmi Sotasamasmi Jahnavi, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Adhyatma vidya vidyanam vada pravadatamaham, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, 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 Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Pavana Pavatamasmi Rama Shastra Vedamaham. Among all the wielders of weapons, I am Rama. When you study Ramayana, you study all our Shastras. Arjuna, you also cannot compare nothing with Bhagavan Ram. And then, they said that there was one Eklavya, Eklavya was so good that when a dog opened its mouth, Eklavya could have shot arrows on the tongue of the dog before he closed the mouth. So good he was. But still, the best wielder of weapons that we had ever seen in Shastra is Rama. Because Eklavya was good in archery. Arjuna was good in archery, isn't it? Bhagavan Ram was good in every weapon possible. That's first thing. Second thing is, being good in firing a weapon not only entails the skill of firing the weapon, but in Bhagavad Gita, the teaching, and in Ramayana, the bhav which accompanies the act is what is important. So Arjuna had killed many people out of anger. So what type of bhav accompanying the arrow? Anger. But Rama, even when he was killing Ravana, the bhav was still compassion. That is a perfect wielder of a weapon. Because what is counting is the bhav inside. He still is doing it out of welfare, thinking about the welfare of Ravan. But other wield weapon, they may be very good skill, but they do it out of anger, do it out of competition. Arjuna was very good at that. So the bhav counts, and this is why Bhagavan Rama is the greatest wielder of weapons. When time to remove Ravan also, he did it out of compassion only, to remove that Ravan. Rama Shastra Pitamaham Jashanam Makarashasmi. Among all fishes, I am shark. How Bhagavan is telling, see, he didn't say whale, because whale is not a fish. among fishes I am shark. See? And in school they taught us whale is not a fish, but the whale is much bigger, much more powerful than a shark. But it doesn't say whale. Among all fishes I am the shark. Srotasa must be Jahnavi. Among all rivers I am Jahnavi. Jahnavi is another name for Ganga. Jahnavi. Some in ordinary Bhojpuri and Indian are Jahnavi. Not Jahnavi, Jahnavi, like that. Because one sage Jannu had collected this Ganga in his Kamandal. You know, first Lord Shiva collected in his head. The Jannu Rishi collected in a Kamandal now, after that. And he didn't let it go. So then they came and prayed, please, oh great sage, please release Ganga. This Bhagiratha. Please release this Ganga. Then he released from his. So this Ganga got his name Jahnavi also now. How nice history, you know. It's a wonderful thing. It means to bring any greatness to the earth, a lot of humility is required, and a lot of prayers and sacrifice and tapas and all that is required. All these teachings behind it to bring anything great to humanity. Srotasa must be Jahnavi. Sarganamadirantashcha madhyam chaivaham Arjuna. In the whole process of the evolution of the universe, I am beginning, middle and end. Bhagavan is the beginning, the middle and the end. I told you last night that meant in terms of time and in terms of space also, both. Right? He's the beginning, middle and end. And see the next line, we'll end with that line. Such a wonderful line. Adhyatma vidya vidyanam vada pravadatamaham. Among all knowledges, I am Adhyatma vidya. Now see, you got how what? Chemistry vidya, physics vidya, geography vidya, mathematics vidya. He says, I am Adhyatma vidya. Adhyatma vidya means knowledge of the indwelling self. That is the greatest knowledge. We have all types of knowledge in this world, and none of them is going to free us. Only one knowledge will free us. Or in fact, all the other knowledge will bind us only. Because when a mathematician gets a degree in mathematics, he starts thinking, but there's so much that I still don't know, and I still haven't understood anything of Einstein. Now I have to start studying. There's nothing bind him to now eternal cycle. The binary, yeah. Numbers binary numbers. That's why perhaps they call it binary. So Adhyatma vidya, I am the greatest knowledge of this in this universe. I am that Adhyatma vidya, knowledge of the self. Vada pravadatamaham. Among those who debate, I am Vada, the speech itself. And the speech itself that is used in that debating. There is Vada, there is Jalpa and Vitanda. It's a different type of debating, you know. Vada means when we debate something with good intention that both of us will learn something. That is called as Vada. That we debate something because that is called brainstorming. Close to brainstorming. He gives this point and he gives this point. The idea is we all want to be enlightened at the end of the. That is called Vada. Jalpa means this different type of debate now. Jalpa means I demolish that fellow's point and establish my point. At the same time, he demolishes my point and establishes his point. That's what their aim is. They call it Jalpa. And Vitanda is, look, I don't want to establish my point. My only aim is to demolish his point. They call Vitanda. Different type of debate and all. So Bhagavan said, in all of that, I am the speech itself which is used. Without speech, we will have debate. Vada pravadatamaham. Okay. Now see, Bhagavan's glory is going on. Still many verses yet.